Hey guys, thank you for being here today. So you guys probably know me. Some of you, maybe some of you know. My name is Harry Nima Segara. I'm a physician. I'm from South America. I'm from Peru, and we have been here like with my wife for already like over 17 years. I'm gonna wait like one more minute until we get started. But again, like first, I wanted to start like giving you a thank you like for being here. I know how important is our time, and that's why I also we have been having this kind of project for almost a year. My wife and I, and we're going back and forth in trying to decide when to get started and also what type of direction to give this kind of webinar or this kind of communication with other doctors or with other guys who are interested in real estate, right? Like so, and that's why like I'm trying to do something more broad, not just like what we do like in Nima Equity, of course, that we do apartment complex and syndications, right? Like so, kind of like to try to give like a little bit more value to you guys in case you are also interested in just doing it yourself, right? Like there's so many ways to invest in real estate, and that's why we're trying to start these. And also, again, like as I mentioned before, maybe in the emails, it's about real estate in general, residential, commercial, and also a little bit of mindset, right? Like because that's very important at the end in your success as a person, but also as a physician and also as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. Okay, so we're 6:32, so we can probably get started. Let me try to share my screen. And this is also one of the things that I'm trying to do. Like, I know that our time is very valuable, so trying to um, I'm okay, and not that long conversation. Okay, all right. So I think like we can get started. I just want to make sure. Can you guys hear me well? Just give me an okay or like. Okay, perfect. Hey, thank you, Ramin. All right. Let me put this here. And we can get started. Okay, so I'm gonna try like to be on time also for you guys. All right, like so, yeah. The topic for this week, for this month, is actually 5 pillars of real estate, right? Like the 5 reasons why. And I'm not saying like you should, but you like at least can consider investing in real estate, like either by yourself or with other people, right? Like so, a little bit about myself, about Nima Equity, right? Like so. My wife and I, we are both from South America, from Lima, Peru. We were born and raised there. We actually went to the same medical school and did the medical school together for 7, 8 years almost. As you can see here, some really nice pictures from back our country. So this is us, right? Like so, this picture is a little bit older right now. Like it's probably from 2009, and this both are our kids. We have been married already for 17 years. Time flies when you when you have fun. And we have 2 boys, Leo and Lucas. They are 12 and 8 years old. Um, as you guys know, like or you may know, like my wife, she's a family doctor here. She has been like a little bit taking a break, but this year she's actually in conversations with a couple of doctors to start a practice again. And I'm a full-time pulmonary and critical care doctor. And I work here in Dallas, in downtown Dallas. We've been in real estate for 7 years. Okay, so 5 pillars of real estate, right? Like why people in general or like people should consider investing in real estate, right? Like so this is one of the things that I usually talk about with other doctors or professionals, right? Like so, majority of people we have full-time jobs or we have a practice, right? Like and we earn like a steady paycheck, right? Like so, this is called like active income, right? Like and you can determine what active income is, like when you define that if you stop doing that activity, your income stops, right? Like, so if I work for a hospital, I work in this moment in a hospital. If I don't go to work for a month, I'm not going to receive like my paycheck, right? Like, so if I have my practice too, and I don't show up, it's going to be the same. I mean, unless of course I have like a bigger practice and I have other people working for me, right? Like meanwhile, like other people and the wealthier people, somehow they find a way also like to earn extra income, right? Like, and not necessarily they doing all the activity, right? Like, so they make like money work for them. So what is what they have found or discovered, right? Like, so let's um let's find out. Real estate, right? Like an investments in general, right? Like again, like I'm talking about like real estate in this moment because that's what I'm again, like I have some experience already in real estate, and that's what I do, and that's what I have a passion, right? Like, but in general, any venture, any type of business that you can try to start by yourself, right? Like would be and that at the end that you can scale, and at the end it can be hands off. It would be like a good way to build wealth, right? So and these are the five pillars, right? Like let's go just straight to the point. How every dollar that we invest in real estate works for us, right? Like in these five ways: cash flow, appreciation, leverage, equity, right? Or mortgage pay down or loan pay down, and the tax benefits, right? Like, and again, as I mentioned before and on the emails, this works for different ways of real estate, right? Like, I mean, it's not only for apartment complex. This works for single family homes, like long-term rentals, short-term rentals, apartment complexes. This works for mobile parks. This works also for storage. So, and for active or passive investment. So number one, the cash flow, right? Like so, and this is something like the holy grail and something that we have probably, if you guys have been interested in real estate in the last few years, this is something that we have heard like in many occasions, right? Cash flow, right? Like, and cash flow is king, right? Like so, um, how is cash flow defined? So for example, like rent is collected from tenants, right? Like, and then like what stays with us after we pay all the property expenses is our cash flow, right? Like, so very easy and simple, right? Like, so for example, right? Like, so we buy a single family home or a rental property, right? Like in this case, I'm going to make an example of single family homes, right? Like, so we buy like a single family home. It's a $200,000 price. So we put 50K down, and the mortgage payment, the PITI, like principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, it's probably going to be around like 1,300 per month. And I made this calculation like yesterday, like using like our current interest rates. So, and let's say like we're able like to rent this unit for 1,900 per month, right? Like so, um, so we still have a delta of $600, right? Like so, after we receive the rent and we pay like the PITI, we also have like some extra expenses, right? Like and reserves, right? Like so, for example, like we so for example, like depending on how's your approach, you can save 5 to 10% for repairs or what we call capex, and also like for vacancy, right? Like, and some of us also hire like a property manager, right? Like, so let's say like we use $300 more for that, right? But still, like, right, like 1,900 dollars minus like the $1,300 minus 300 still is $300 as passive cash flow, right? Like what we say, like money in your pocket. And if you make the calculations for $50,000, right? Like, so we have $300 per month as cash flow. In a year, it would be around $3,600. So that's about 7% of your investment, right? Like, which was $50,000. 7% still is not necessarily something impressive, right? Right? Like, and you may even say like the stock market can give you 8 to 10 like percent per year in average, right? Like, but this is just the beginning. Yeah. Right. So like the second part is appreciation, right? Like, so real estate increases in value over time, right? Like, and there can be changes year over year, but I mean, in general, if you put over 10, over 20 years, real estate will appreciate, right? Like, um, so we put this other example, right? Like, so we bought the same property for $200,000. We put a paid down payment of $50,000. And real estate appreciates usually around 4 to 5% per year. So in a year, the home, like, right, like if it appreciates 4 to 5, let's put 5%, it will be valued at $205,000. So, and how much is $5,000 from $50,000 is 10%, right? Like, so on top of the initial 5%, we also have like a 10% more, right? Like, I mean, of course, it's not money that you're getting in that moment, but again, like it's increasing your net worth, right? Like that being said, appreciation is nice. It's not guaranteed, right? Like there are some markets and markets, right? Like it, and as I mentioned here, it should be the icing on the cake. Number three is leverage, right? Like, and leverage is one of my favorite words in real estate, honestly. Leverage means you use something else to help you with your goals, right? Like, so in real estate, you leverage money, you leverage people, you leverage teams, right? Like, so as I mentioned, right? Like, so we just bought a single family home for $200,000. But we didn't pay the $200,000, right? Like we only put $50,000 as down payment, and the bank or the lender helps you with $150,000, right? However, the cash flow that you make and also the appreciation is not based on your investment of $50,000. It's based on the $200,000 that the house is valued, right? Like, so, and also like the next year is the value is going to continue to increase, right? Like, so that's the magic of leverage. And that's, for example, something that you don't see, for example, that when you buy stocks or mutual funds, right? Like if you want to buy $200,000 worth of stocks or mutual funds, you need to put $200,000. It's not that you put $50,000 and you get a loan from the bank, and then you get the appreciation in your stocks or or the distributions based on the full amount, right? Like, so that's an important part. So again, like even though the bank contributed with 75% of the money, um, all you have to do is like to pay the mortgage and interest. So like the excess of cash flow or profit and appreciation is yours. It's not the bank's. Equity, right? Like, so with time, you will receive monthly rent, right? And with that, you're using that to pay your mortgage, and then you may get some cash flow. But with time, initially, not at the beginning, like in the first few months or in the first year, but after a couple of years, you will notice that you're paying down your mortgage, right? Like, because initially, how the mortgage is structured, how the banks or lenders structure this is that at the beginning, you usually pay more interest than the principal. And at the end of the 15 or 30 years, you pay more, again, like the principal and less interest, right? Like, so, but again, like let's say after 5 or 10 years, you find yourself that you have paid down some of the principal of the home. So your equity or mortgage pay down works that way, right? Like, so you have more equity in that property, right? Like, so, and once you have more equity, you may decide just that equity to stay there, right? Like just being more safe for as an investment, right? Like, and again, like you have extra caution there, or you may use the extra equity for, again, like you can refinance if you want, or you can use a HELOC, right? And you can use, and which allows you to borrow against your existing equity in the asset, right? Like, so yeah, so, and these HELOC funds can be invested in anything really, right? Like, so again, in another property, again, like you can use in any other venture really. I mean, like you just need like to pay that back. All right. And finally, tax benefits. And like, and honestly, um, with each point that I'm mentioning today, um, we can talk about like for in different times in different webinars, and we can talk extensively about how they work and the different strategies for each of them, right? Like, so and probably we will do, right? Like because I think it's important for all of us to understand, again, like kind of simple but important concepts, right? Like, and that's what at the end of the day will give you more understanding, and again, like more confidence at the time when you, I mean, at some point, if you decide to invest, like either by yourself or with someone else, right? Like, so finally, tax benefits, right? Like, and again, tax benefits, I could talk with you guys for hours about this, but again, like just trying to make things kind of straightforward and simple, right? Like, so So when you get in, you invest in real estate, right? Like, and this is also something important that in general, the governments or the US in general, they try to promote with tax benefits whatever they feel people should do, right? Like, so for example, if you invest in real estate, that's something that the government sees favorably, right? Like, so that's why they do tax benefits, right? Like, so if you, for example, you invest in oil and gas, you also have a lot of tax benefits there in development in opportunity zones, right? Like, so those are the areas where the government has seen that they are not effective in, again, like developing jobs or developing like real estate or things like that. So they incentivize people like private people in order like to do this, right? Like, so tax benefits. So when you invest in real estate, again, like you get the benefits of depreciation, right? Like, and this is again like for another time to discuss further in depth, right? But depreciation is mainly again like under the eyes of the government and the IRS, even though your property or your real estate is increasing in value, under their eyes, it's decreasing in value, like the property itself, not the land, not the land, but the property itself, right? Like, so you also get mortgage interest deductions, right? Like, as well as many other, a lot of write-offs for a number of related expenses, right? Like, so for example, if you have a single family home, like my wife and I, and and there's like a broken AC or you need to change the roof, you can put that as expenses, right? Like, and then again, like that, your income is going to show that it's going to be lower, right? Like, so if you go to the property to check on the tenants or to do some repairs or renovations in between tenants, you also can put and deduct like the miles that you're driving to your property, right? Like, so investors often are going to show and and I'm sorry, I see one of the comments which I'm gonna answer like at the end, if you don't mind. I see one question here. So again, investor often show losses on paper, right? And that's like again like what your CPA can show as depreciation. We're actually making money through cash flow, right? Like, and that happens again, like for different types of investments, honestly, active and passive investments, single family homes, even syndications, storage, and all kinds of real estate. And the losses play a big part in helping to offset the income, right? Like, but again, like that's the income when you are owning that piece of real estate, right? Like, and again, like just to have full disclosure, again, like I'm not a CPA and I cannot give advice about like taxes and any of these. But again, like, so what you're doing in this case of the depreciation and again, like not necessarily paying taxes when you receive that cash flow is mainly deferring taxes, right? Like, because again, of the depreciation as long as you own the property, right? Like again, like Uncle Sam or the IRS, they it's not that they forgive you about the taxes, but you can defer. And in general, like there are strategies and legal strategies to defer taxes in real estate indefinitely. Right, like so, and there are other options and there are other strategies for taxes in real estate, right? Like you also, and this is something that has been done in the last couple of years with syndications, especially, right? Like so, and syndications, and again, like they can be done like with apartment complexes. That's what we do, but also can be done in other types of investments, like mobile parks and even like short-term rentals and storage, right? Like so, there's a cost segregation study. So you hire like a cost segregation firm, right? Like they have engineers and CPAs, and they do this cost segregation, and they can accelerate that depreciation, right? Like instead of doing like a depreciation of a property over, let's say, 27 years, they can do it like way faster, right? Like in 5 or 15 years, 10 years. And it's not here, but there's even like what is called bonus depreciation, where you can do this most of the depreciation in the first few years. But again, like for all of these, we can have like even like a way more in-depth discussion. That's another point, right? Like, and there's the last thing about this is also like 1031 exchanges, another very important topic, especially for real estate investors, right? Like 1031 exchanges, and just to give you just a brief intro about that, right? Like, so let's say like you have a single family home, and you own that single family home and do as a rental, right? Like, so for 5 or 10 years. After 5 or 10 years, you want to continue investing in real estate, but maybe a bigger property, or maybe like, again, like an apartment complex or something different in real estate, right? Like, so, however, when you sell a property, then at that moment, there's two taxes that you're going to be uh, that you will need like to deal with, right? Like, so one is like the depreciation recapture, and the other one is the capital gains, right? Like, so in that case, again, you're going to need like to pay those taxes if you just decide to sell the piece of real estate or the property and just take your money with you. However, in real estate, there's this vehicle that's called 1031 exchange, where you can, again, like find another property, a bigger property, usually a property with a higher value, right? And continue deferring those taxes. Again, it's not that the taxes are going to be exempted, but again, like you're going to be continue deferring like under the eyes of the IRS. Okay, so yeah, no, and again, like especially in the part of tax benefits, because I was talking just recently with a doctor who had a big bill, big bill for taxes, and we were going over different strategies. Again, like just as a friend and as a friendly conversation, because again, as I mentioned, I cannot give advice in taxes, and I'm not a CPA, but yeah, there are many ways to work around with these tax benefits. All right, and that's mainly it, I think, right? Like, so again, like just to remember one more time, like with each dollar invested in real estate, like, and again, it's not just with our company, it's just you can do it by yourself, you can do it with other company, you can do with other types of real estate. You have the opportunity to take advantage of these things, right? Like cash flow, appreciation, equity, or mortgage pay down. Leverage that I mentioned is one of my favorite strategies, right? Like, again, like you can buy a $200,000 property with 20 or 25% down payment, but you cannot buy $200,000 of stocks or mutual funds with only 40 or $50,000. And again, like what you make on the gains and the appreciation and cash flow is based on the actual value of the property, right? Different than what happens with real stocks and mutual funds and retirement funds in general, right? And finally, the tax benefits. That again, like for each tax benefit, I think like we could even talk for half an hour or even more, which we may do in the next webinar. All right. So I think yeah. So let me go to the chat and see if we have any questions. Again, as I was telling you guys, I want these meetings or these webinars to be high yield. And again, if you guys um, have any questions, we can address that now, or even like um, in person. I mean, we can do a phone call. So let's go first. Um, Alcibiades. No, this one is the first question. What happens when you buy the property with cash? Yeah, yeah, right, absolutely. And I have a couple of friends actually. Have actually a Muslim friend who, again, you guys may know or not, but they cannot take a loan, right? Like they cannot pay interest. So they actually bought a couple of properties cash, right? Like, so in that case, again, like it won't apply like the 5 pillars of real estate, but it's still, right? Like, so again, like you get cash flow for sure, right? You get appreciation for sure. You don't get all the leverage that you can get, but it's still like, I mean, you're getting cash flow, you're getting appreciation, you get the depreciation of the property, right? Like, yeah, and the other two, I mean, are more difficult, but it's still, if you think about it, still would be a good investment, right? Like, and yeah, there are people actually who buy the property cash and they don't take loans. In my case, I have evolved. Like initially, I was buying with a regular MLS listing and also with a regular loan, which usually takes 1.5 to 2 months. Now I switch a little bit to off-market properties and buy with hard money loans, and then I refinance to a regular loan. But yeah, yeah. Alcibiades, Harry, when I do down payment of 50K for a 200K property, so what the bank is borrowing me is 150, taking as warranty the asset. That's correct. My understanding is that until I pay completely, the only asset belongs to the bank. No, it's actually on your name, but they have like the again like the note on their like on their name. So you are responsible for the note. If so, how can I rent the asset that belongs to the bank? No, it belongs to you. Actually, in the U.S., it belongs to you. It doesn't belong to the bank. And I think and I think Alcibiades, I think you're in Spain. Like I'm not sure about how this works in Spain, but again, like you buy a property, even if you buy with a loan, this property is yours, right? It's just like, again, like we have a loan and a mortgage, and as long as we have this mortgage, we're on time with this mortgage. I mean, like you can do anything you want with the property. You can do, again, like you can use the property for long-term rental, for short-term rentals, for for parties or different things, right? Like, so how's this work in the US? Yes, I recently moved from another country. Thanks in advance for your response. Yeah, man, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, Mitzi, how's the cash flow with the new interest rates? Yes, yes. When we were talking about that, that before, right? Like, so in the last year or two, as you guys have seen, the interest rate have historical. I mean, like we're right now at around 7 to 8% for interest rates for single family homes, right? However, even though this is way more than before, historically we're not at the highest. I mean, in the 80s, in the 90s, the interest rates were like in the teens actually, and some people like actually even older. They say like the interest rates for mortgages were close to 20%, which is incredible, right? It's just that we have been so used to low interest rate in the last few years. So actually, like to your question, yes, I mean like within this new high interest rates, it's more difficult like for cash flow in general, for single family homes, for multifamily, for development, for everything in general. But it's still, I mean, like what I always say, like still makes sense because real estate is a long-term investment, right? Like again, like you shouldn't, I mean, the worst case scenario is not going to cash flow the first year, but in a couple of years, the rents are going up. Still, they always go up, the appreciation, the value of real estate, and also the rents because of inflation, for good or for bad, they go up. So at some point, it's going to start cash flowing. So ideally, we don't want to have negative cash flow, right? Like where you need to put extra from your pocket. But again, like at the end, it's going to cash flow, right? Like, so let's say like, yes, man. What is the real benefit for a short-term rentals? Yes, so there are good and there are bad things about that. I have one of my properties that is in an area for a short-term rental, and we're in Dallas Forward. So like if you guys know, like in 2 years the World Cup is gonna be here in Dallas. Even we're gonna have like also like the Copa America is going to be here. So and my property is in an area that is allowed to be short-term rentals. With the short-term rentals, is honestly a little bit different in the terms of short-term rentals are more labor intensive, right? Like so again, like your cash flow is going to be higher, like because you're renting the house by the night, by the day or by the night, right? And your work involved may be also higher, but again, like the cash flow is going to be higher too, right? Like but again, like the rules for that is different. You're thinking about like you're not completely anymore in real estate, but you are in real estate plus also like a service, like to other people, right? Like so, and also short-term rentals have, and this is also for another webinar. um, I think I need to respect the time also, right? Like so, short-term rentals are really good in the sense. I'm not sure if you guys have heard about like real estate professional status and also the exemption for short-term rentals, because in general, these tax benefits or depreciation usually affect only your passive income, right? Like so, unfortunately, we cannot deduct this depreciation from my W-2 income or from my active income if I have a practice, right? But if I do short-term rentals or if I'm a real estate professional, I can deduct the depreciation or the losses from real estate from my active income, and that's again like it's another full webinar that we can talk about that. Hey, Luis, how are you, man? You're looking for investors starting a syndication to finance a multifamily project. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So as you and some of you guys have told me, have asked me about that. Like, and as I talked with some of you guys, we we're looking actively for deals. We have 2 or 3 partners that we want to work consistently. We're a company that we don't want to have a deal every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. I mean, like I want to, I, and the reason is because I'm also a full-time doctor, right? Like, and as you guys see, I have a family, and we also want to enjoy our time. So we're looking to do like 2 or 3 deals per year. However, because of these high interest rates, because of the increase of expenses, like taxes have gone to the roof, and insurance in some areas like Texas, like Florida, have also increased a lot. It's more difficult to pencil out a property. Actually, our last project was not a syndication in apartment complexes. Our last syndication was a development, right? Like, which again, like I'm also in talks with that partner, and we may have something to offer in the next few months. Let's do a webinar on short-term rentals. Absolutely. Yes, yes. I mean, like that's something that, again, like I have some and actually like my wife took like some training on that, and we were ready to do that. But again, like it's just initially we were a little bit on the fence about short-term rentals, and the reason is because some of these properties have been overvalued in the last couple of years, and the underwriting that was being done on these short-term rentals was based on the projected cash flow for these short-term rentals or Airbnb or VRBOs, right? But now there's more competition. Now there's more vacancies. There's more restrictions in different cities. You guys probably have heard about like Dallas has restricted a lot of the short-term rentals. My wife and I were fortunate that we have one property in an area that is allowed for short-term rentals, but in many areas in Dallas Fort Worth is not allowed. Also in New York, you guys probably have heard about that, right? Like, but it's still like I think like the short-term rental market or like approach is a good strategy too, right? Like, so you just need like to do your due diligence and do a good underwriting, right? Like, so yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, from your questions, I see that we have a lot of good topics for the next few months. So I really appreciate your help and your input with all of this. And again, like let me see if I have any other. And this is our website, as you guys know. This is you may know, this is our YouTube channel where we again like it's mostly about, I mean, obviously syndications and passive investing because that's what we do. That's our business. But we're trying to bring other topics for anyone who wants to be involved, and not necessarily just with us. Again, like anyone who wants to be involved, him or herself, just doing it actively or passively, either with us or with someone else. We just try to help out here. And this is absolutely. Thank you, Luis. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yeah, and I'm gonna close this with this. I believe you have to be willing to be misunderstood if you are going to innovate, right? Like, and I'm gonna finish with that. I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys had a good time. We're gonna have the recording share with you guys in the next few days. All right. If there's no more questions, we're going to close this almost in the half an hour. I'm being on time. All right. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I hope you guys have a good night. Okay. If you guys have any questions, just reach out to me with no problems. Bye.